Hey, folks, this clip is brought to you by Farm Bureau Health Plans. For better coverage, better rates, and better service, go to fbhp.com/ATOZ. That is Farm Bureau Health Plans. Tennessee is at a point on the recruiting trail where, much like the Florida game, I'm getting nervous because things are going well on the recruiting trail. Yeah, you lost out on Kai Bates last week, but it's not the end of the world. But this week, you win on Bennett Warren, who was a huge pickup, figuratively and literally. Offensive tackle, a 4-star, a unanimous 4-star across the board. On 3, this pickup vaulted Tennessee up to number 6 in the nation for this recruiting class. Giant pickup. Your thoughts on this, Zach?
I love one. It's a great pickup. You go into Texas, you get a top 5 offensive tackle. I mean, that's absolutely massive. Those are the type of recruiting battles you have to win from time to time to have a championship caliber team. Sometimes the right tackle of the future is not going to be in state, or maybe it's not a guy that you can swipe from Georgia. The guy you need's in Texas, and they went down there and got him. Part of the reason they were able to get him was because Bennett Warren was at the LSU Tennessee game visiting LSU last season, and he was so impressed. He told VolQuest that let me find the quote here. He said, "I learned that there were 30,000 Tennessee fans at that game. It was clearly visible. That whole side of Death Valley was covered in orange. The power tee was shown, and the music was blaring from their end. It was huge." He also called it a beatdown, the game. So it's pretty hilarious that he was on a visit to LSU, and that's part of what helped sell him on Tennessee. So, I mean, that game, the scenes from that game, the orange in the end zone, when Jalen Hyatt, catches that long touchdown pass from Hendon Hook, and it's just a sea of orange there that he kind of goes into. That's a huge recruiting win for Tennessee right there, and it's showing up. And this is kind of what we talked about last season, is how some of that stuff would show up in the 2024 class, and here it is showing up, paying off. Just shows how huge winning those games on the road in the SEC can be. And you get somebody that, looks like a future, maybe first-round pick. You've already proven that you can get a right tackle to the NFL drafted in the top 10 with Darnell Wright. Maybe they got another one here.
Maybe. And this was a part of the recruiting class that I think some people were getting a little squirrely about. Mm-hmm. People were like, okay, you just had Darnell Wright. I mean, literal top 10 pick. And why? How are we not landing these offensive linemen? And, there's been a lot of talking points of like, oh, Tennessee doesn't run offense for serious offensive linemen because it's so quick and they don't get to really show their skills like they could on teams that are more, slow, run heavy, yada, yada. It's a stupid narrative, but it is a narrative that has been around nonetheless. And here you go. It's like Josh Heupel heard all of us talking, and he said bet and got himself a big-time offensive lineman here. I love this pickup, and it just continues on my narrative that has existed since really the Florida game this past year, that right now the resurgence of Tennessee and the re-emergence of the power of this fan base. I mean, obviously this fan base never went away. It's been incredibly loyal through some of the darkest times for this football program. But them showing off last season for the Florida game, for the Alabama game, for this LSU game, which was just ridiculous. I mean, how many times has that happened in SEC football at a place that's not Vandy? Everybody takes over Vandy Stadium. But I mean, in SEC football, that just does not happen, where an opposing fan base comes in and just takes over your stadium. That's LSU, Death Valley. I mean, one of the most notorious stadiums in college football. And Tennessee fans went down there and took that place over to the point where a kid is visiting LSU. He's there to hang out with Brian Kelly and make TikToks or whatever Brian Kelly's doing down there. And he notices all the Tennessee fans. He goes, whoa, this is crazy. And these boys just kicked LSU's butt. And I love this so much. What a great story for this kid and him committing to Tennessee now. But yeah, I mean, this fan base, your tweets to recruits maybe are winning them over, and I'm still an ardent, like, let's not tweet at recruits type of guy. But showing off with massive, crazy crowds in Neyland Stadium, showing off by traveling better than any fan base in America and taking over opposing stadiums is impressing these recruits, and it's really powerful. And I mean, obviously, Heupel and his offense and everything sells this place easily, but fans, the Tennessee fan base and the craziness that it is just is such an added bonus, and it really has value. Like, don't sell yourself short there, and I love it. And I was it this week, Danny White had some comment where he was like, the Tennessee fan base is more powerful than I realized. So I'm like, I saw that on a picture on Twitter.
Yeah.
I didn't know when he said that, but was that this week?
I think he did an interview with VolQuest where he made those comments, but he's definitely right. I don't think you can understand it till you're really in it. And I know every college football fan base, major college football fan base, has passionate fans. So it's not a knock or this suggestion. I think every fan base thinks they have the best fans. So it's not like get into that type of battle. But he's right. I mean, the fans have shown up for 10 years, 15 years, just waiting for this type of stuff. And then you get 30,000 people to go to Baton Rouge, which is not an easy trip to make at all. I mean, it's not like just heading down to Atlanta to go to the, a game at the Mercedes Dome or anything like that. I mean, it's a tough trip. So, yeah, I definitely think he's learned a few things about how passionate Tennessee fans are over the last 2 years.
Farm Bureau Health Plans has been serving Tennesseans for over 75 years, and much has changed in Tennessee over the years, but some has stayed the same. Farm Bureau Health Plans has always valued personal relationships, especially when it comes to good health and good service. Plan on Farm Bureau Health Plans for health, dental, and vision. For better coverage, better rates, and better service, go to fbhp.com/ATOZ or walk into one of their 200-plus locations across the state of Tennessee. That is fbhp.com/ATOZ, Farm Bureau Health Plans. There were just so many moments last year where you saw this fan base where you're just like, we were born for this. This is what this fan base was made for.
I mean, it's been
this exact moment.
It's been begging for something to be excited about, like that Alabama game, like the Florida game last season, LSU, Clemson, even Kentucky. What a better celebration of Halloween weekend that was than bringing out the black jerseys and rolling all over Kentucky, intercepting Will Levis a few times. And Jalen Hyatt running free into the end zone. I mean, it couldn't have been a better celebration of what the season was that fall Saturday night. I mean, that's what you have been dreaming of the last 15 years.
Absolutely. Well, I actually don't usually love Big Ten Jeff's comments, but here's one. He said, your recruiting could be worse. You could be serving kid cuisine to recruits like Michigan did. If you didn't see this, there was a recruit that posted a picture from a Michigan recruiting trip, I guess. And he was like, here are the eats at Michigan, acting like they were really great. And it was like a school cafeteria lunch.
There's chicken tenders, a plain hot dog, which looked like it came,
it was
straight out of somebody's kitchen. Yeah, a boiled hot dog with some mac and cheese. It's like he got totally roasted for that. Had to know that was going to be the case, right? I mean, that looked.
Maybe he was an Ohio State psyop. He was in there to.
I wonder if that happened. Like, that has to happen some, right?
Yes.
I mean, as shady as the recruiting world can be and these backroom deals that we know go down, why would you not, even if it's not a coach putting you up to it, if you're committed to Ohio State and there's a few kids on that Michigan trip that you want to come to Ohio State, or you just don't like Michigan, you don't know Ohio State, but you're going to go on that visit, just kind of burn them like that. I mean, that has to happen every now and then, I would think.
It helps to make Michigan uncool.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And Jim Harbaugh does a pretty good job of that himself, by the way.
Yes, he does. He definitely does. I mean, you think about the perception of like high school kids. I said this during the season. You had like Morgan Wallen and that chick from Georgia making songs about Neyland Stadium and Tennessee and stuff. And it's like getting into the zeitgeist. And it's like, it made being a Tennessee fan look cool. All of it. Obviously, you paired that with like the scene in the field at Alabama and all this stuff. And like, that's going to make kids want to go to the University of Tennessee, recruits and primarily probably just students, which I think the school is super happy about because they get to raise enrollment and raise tuition and, rents on those apartments on the strip go through the roof. But that whole thing with Michigan was funny, but I bet that does happen. You look at the kid, what was it a few weeks ago, the kid that committed to Clemson, and out of the blue just like took a shot at Tennessee. What did he put a Tennessee hat on, right? And
Oh
then he
yeah.
threw it and then put on a Clemson hat. And you're like, what? This didn't come from this kid because there was no reason to be malicious. This had to come from Clemson because frankly, Heupel has been kicking their butt on the field and on the recruiting trail. So
Tennessee has in general with Clemson the last little while.
Yeah,
well, going back to baseball.
Yes, and man, that's been fun. It really has been. It's been just a time of beating down Clemson. What a time to be alive. Well, anyway, with recruiting, Zach, before we move on to this final segment where I'm kind of going to sight unseen react to a hot take of yours. Anything else before camp starts?
You just got to hope they keep it up. I mean, it sounds like they're still in the mix for some of these bigger names. They got a few spots left to fill. Kamarion Franklin's one. It sounds like, Williams Winery, that they're maybe back in the mix for that a little bit.
Yep.
And Ron Wingo's still out there. Amari Jefferson is committing soon. And I saw Amari Jefferson do an interview with Chattanooga Times Free Press where he talked about his family is going to have a big part in his decision. It's kind of like them making the decision together, his parents. And if you're his parents, Tennessee's a lot closer to home than Alabama. Does that play a factor? He's pretty serious about playing baseball in college. Alabama's just went through a huge gambling scandal. I don't really know what all the deal with that is down there, other than some people were fired. But does that impact his decision at all? Tennessee baseball is definitely in a better place than Alabama baseball. It'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. But you got to think there's a lot of things that are good for Tennessee in that battle that could swing it in their favor.
I hope so, because you're trending towards the top 5 class at the moment, which would be so wild. And just a beautiful cap on really a beautiful cap on last year's season. Although I think to get a top 5 class, you will have to have a good 2023 season. Because you saw the power of that a year ago when you impress recruits. I mean, we're just talking about it. You impress recruits even when you're on the road, and that can work miracles for your recruiting. So hopefully they can have a good season, close out on this class big time. We shall see.